What's up, free thinkers and true believers? I'm Dr. Stratton, and today I'm going to be talking about Doctor Strange and the Avengers. Marvel Studios really took their time and spent a good decade developing many of my favorite childhood comics into fantastic movies. And they continue to build on top of that foundation today on Disney Plus with shows like WandaVision and The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, Marvel started with Iron Man all the way back in 2008, then shortly after released Thor and Captain America. And then they went on to develop other stars and co-stars within a robust Marvel cinematic universe that, in my opinion, is unrivaled even by Star Wars. Now, not only do I love the Marvel superheroes who I grew up with in the comic books, but these movies have provided fantastic opportunities to discuss philosophical and theological issues in pop culture.
I do not want another single pop culture reference out of you for the rest of the trip. You understand?
For example, Captain America knows that there's only one God. Cap's a good monotheist, and he makes it clear that God doesn't dress like Thor. Cap also knows about objective morality and the law above the law that can only be grounded in God. So check the show notes for that. Tony Stark, Iron Man, has also demonstrated how absurd it is, how crazy it is to hold another person responsible and accountable for their actions when someone else is ultimately in control of their thoughts and actions. Now, Freethinking Ministries has also pointed out the theological implications of this. So again, check the show notes to read an article about Captain America, Bucky, and moral responsibility. Avengers Infinity War continued in this 10-year tradition and does not disappoint. In my opinion, this movie provides one of the best illustrations of one of the hardest to grasp theological issues ever conceived, which was the focus of my doctoral dissertation. Namely, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has painted a beautiful picture of Molinism and God's middle knowledge while simultaneously defeating the so-called problems of evil. Now, I think this beautiful picture can eventually defeat not just the problem of moral evil, but all the problems of evil, including the so-called problem of divine hiddenness. So let me explain. Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man, Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange, known as Doctor Strange, joined forces with the Guardians of the Galaxy on the planet Titan. And they know a fight to the death with Thanos, one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe, is looming. And the heroes are desperately trying to devise a plan to defeat Thanos. Now, that's a task that might be easier said than done when Peter Quill, also known as Star-Lord, is on the planning committee.
Don't forget, I'm half human, so that 50% of me that's stupid, that's 100% you.
Doctor Strange, however, chooses not to be involved in this conversation and instead uses the time stone to look forward into time. However, he did not merely look forward into the future, rather, he evaluated over 14 million alternate futures. Now, these are perfect examples of what philosophers and theologians refer to as possible worlds. Now, why is Doctor Strange doing such a thing? Well, because although it's not logically impossible for the Avengers to defeat Thanos, he wants to see if there's a possible world that could be actualized, what we would refer to as a feasible world, in which the Avengers would actually defeat Thanos. So Doctor Strange tells Tony Stark and the others that he examined over 14 million alternate futures. But out of the multi-millions of possible worlds that he surveyed, he knows of only one in which the good guys would actually defeat Thanos in the end. Now, 1 in 14 million is commonly referred to as horrible odds. However, these alternate futures are not merely based on chance alone. You see, Doctor Strange gained knowledge of how all of these superheroes and villains would freely choose in each of the millions and millions of possible worlds he examined. Now, possessing this knowledge of how these superpowered persons would freely choose in each of these possible futures, similar to what theologians refer to as middle knowledge, Strange freely chose himself and did everything in his power to make the possible world in which the good guys would win the actual world in which the good guys will win. Strange actualized this possibility when he did the unthinkable, what seemed to be a stupid mistake, and he handed over the time stone to Thanos. Now, because of this, Avengers Infinity War ends on a cliffhanger and in apparent defeat. In fact, so many of my childhood heroes were destroyed and seemingly killed off, just like that, as they literally turned to dust in front of our eyes. Now, this includes the demise of Doctor Strange himself. But just before Strange dies, his last statements to Stark was attention-getting. He said,
"There was no other way."
It was almost as if he said, "It is finished." You see, Doctor Strange knew that even though many good guys are dying and that he himself would be killed in this world that he just created, and seemingly everyone who was not dead was suffering, he still knew that this was the only world available in which the evil of Thanos is ultimately defeated. So based on this knowledge, Doctor Strange laid down his life for his friends and all the creatures in the entire universe. He laid down his life for the greater good, the ultimate sacrifice. That is to say, although this world is suffused with so much suffering and death, Strange believed, he knew that this world is still the best of all the possible worlds that could be actualized. In his last moments before his death, Doctor Strange had a strange peace because he possessed knowledge that everything was going according to plan. You see, Doctor Strange knew that all the pain, evil, and suffering that occurs at the end of Avengers Infinity War was actually the only way to ultimately defeat the evil of Thanos. But as we see in the next movie, Avengers Endgame, Strange, he's resurrected from the dead, and the evil of Thanos is defeated forever. Now, it's vital to note that Doctor Strange possesses this counterfactual knowledge before he somehow chose to make this possible alternate future, to be exact, one of the 14,605 possible futures, into the actual future. That is to say that Doctor Strange possessed this knowledge prior to making this possible world the actual world. So, although it might not seem like it, at the end of Infinity War, this horrible world, as bad as it is actually the best world that humans could have hoped for. You know, even though it sure doesn't feel like it at the moment, Strange has chosen the best of all possible worlds and made it the actual world. Now, because of this, even though Strange created a world filled with so much evil, pain, and suffering, even a world where he was nowhere to be found for a 5-year blip, Doctor Strange is the hero of the entire Marvel universe. Now let's think about God. Although no analogy is perfect, Doctor Strange provides a great illustration as to how we should view God and his sovereignty over the entire universe and all of its contents. And this also includes all the affairs of humanity. You see, God is omniscient and knows all that could happen, all that will happen, and also all that would happen in alternate futures or possible worlds. God is also omnipotent, and he has the power to choose the best of all the possible worlds available. These are called feasible worlds, and to make it the actual world. Now, it might not always seem like it, especially when we're in the middle of experiencing pain, evil, and suffering ourselves. It might not feel like it, but God, similar to Doctor Strange, but maximally greater, perfectly knows that this evil-infused universe will eventually lead to a world where evil is extinguished and no one will ever make evil choices again in heaven. Doctor Strange had the big picture in mind and made his choice allowing limited evil to ultimately defeat evil. God has eternity in mind and made his choice allowing limited evil, which includes everything we might not like about this universe in the past, right now, or even in the near future, to ultimately destroy all evil into the infinite future. You see, Doctor Strange is the hero of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. God is the hero of the actual universe and should be praised. It is finished. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please like it, please share it, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Freethinking Ministries. Thanks a lot. Stay reasonable. See you next time.